Let me say something that might shake you a little. Just because someone shares your blood does not mean they get to break your spirit. If you feel small after every family dinner, if your chest tightens before you answer their calls, if you keep replaying their words in your head at night, that's not love. That's disrespect. And today, I want you to stop tolerating it. I know how complicated this is. Family is supposed to be sacred. We're taught to protect it, defend it, endure it. We're told that's just how they are. We're told, don't be so sensitive. We're told family comes first. But here's the truth no one says out loud. Love without respect is not loyalty. It's control. When you tolerate disrespect from family, you're not being strong. You're being silent. And silence in the face of repeated hurt doesn't make you noble. It makes you disappear. Every time you swallow an insult to keep the peace, you teach people that your peace doesn't matter. And I want you to hear me clearly. You are not too sensitive. You are not dramatic. You are responding to pain. Disrespect from family cuts deeper because it strikes at the root of belonging. We all want to belong. We are wired for it. But belonging that demands self-abandonment is not belonging. It's emotional captivity. You do not have to bleed to prove you're loyal. And if something inside you is whispering, this doesn't feel right anymore, that whisper is your courage waking up. Let's talk about what to do with it. Let me tell you why this hurts so much. When a stranger disrespects you, it stings. But when family does it, it shakes your identity. Because somewhere deep down, you still carry that child who needed their approval, who wanted to feel seen, chosen, safe. So when they mock you, dismiss you, criticize your choices, compare you to others, or roll their eyes at your boundaries, it doesn't just feel rude. It feels like rejection. And rejection inside a family system feels like exile. But here's the truth. Many families normalize disrespect and call it honesty. They disguise cruelty as jokes. They call humiliation motivation. They label your boundaries as attitude. And if you've grown up in that environment, you may not even recognize it as emotional harm. You just know you feel small. And small is not how you were meant to feel in the presence of people who claim to love you. Here's something powerful. You cannot change what you are unwilling to name. If you keep minimizing it, it's not that bad. I'm overreacting. That's just how they talk. You stay trapped. The first act of courage is calling it what it is. That comment that attacked your character, disrespect. That constant criticism of your life choices, disrespect. That invasion of privacy, disrespect. That yelling meant to intimidate, disrespect. And once you name it, you stop gaslighting yourself. Stopping tolerance doesn't start with confrontation. It starts with clarity. Clarity that your nervous system is responding to something real. Clarity that love should not require shrinking. Clarity that you are allowed to expect dignity, even at the family table. And that clarity, that's where your power begins. Now let's talk about the fear. Because the reason you keep tolerating disrespect isn't weakness, it's fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of being labeled difficult. Fear of being cut off. Fear of losing connection. And let me tell you something tender and honest. The fear of losing belonging can make us betray ourselves. You stay quiet because you don't want to cause drama. You laugh off the insult because you don't want tension. You explain yourself over and over, hoping this time they'll understand. You bend. You soften. You swallow your truth. But every time you do that, a part of you fractures. There is a deep ache that comes from smiling on the outside while feeling disrespected on the inside. That ache is your integrity asking to be protected. Here's the hard truth. If the only way to keep peace is to abandon yourself, that's not peace. That's self-erasure. You have been trained to believe that harmony is your responsibility, especially if you're the empathetic one, the peacemaker, the strong one. But harmony that requires your silence is not harmony. It's imbalance. And yes, when you stop tolerating disrespect, there may be backlash. There may be confusion. There may be anger because people who benefit from your silence don't celebrate your voice. But listen carefully, discomfort is not danger. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions when you are simply asking for respect. The courage to stop tolerating disrespect begins when you decide that temporary discomfort is worth long-term self-respect. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to be aggressive. But you do need to be clear, because the cost of staying silent is far greater than the cost of speaking up. Let's get practical now, because courage without action is just inspiration, and you deserve transformation. Stopping the tolerance of disrespect begins with one powerful sentence: that doesn't feel okay to me. Not an attack, not a lecture, just clarity. When someone makes a cutting joke at your expense, instead of laughing it off, you say calmly, I know you may not mean harm, but that felt disrespectful. And then, this is the hard part. You stop explaining. You let the silence sit. You let them feel the weight of your boundary. Boundaries are not punishments. They are clarity about what you will and will not allow in your presence. And here's where people get confused. You don't need their agreement for your boundary to be valid. You only need your conviction. They might say, you're too sensitive. You respond, maybe, but I still expect respect. They might say, we're just joking. You respond, I don't find it funny. Notice what's happening. You're not attacking. You're not escalating. You're not shaming. You are simply refusing to shrink. Disrespect often continues because it's never interrupted. The first interruption feels terrifying. Your voice may shake. Your heart may race. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. That means you're doing something brave. And understand this deeply, boundaries are not about controlling their behavior. They are about defining yours. If the disrespect continues, you leave the room. You end the call, you shorten the visit. You change your availability. Access to you is a privilege, not a right. And when you begin to act like it, everything shifts. Now let's talk about guilt. Because the moment you stop tolerating disrespect from family, guilt will come knocking. It will whisper, you're being selfish. It will say, after everything they've done for you, it will ask, who do you think you are? And that guilt can feel suffocating. But I want you to understand something powerful. Guilt is not always a sign you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it's a sign you're breaking an old pattern. If you've been the accommodating one, the forgiving one, the one who absorbs the tension so everyone else can stay comfortable, your change will feel disruptive. Not because it's wrong, but because it's different. Family systems are wired for predictability. When you start responding instead of reacting, when you stop laughing at what hurts, when you refuse to explain yourself endlessly, the system shakes. And when systems shake, they push back. That pushback is not proof you should retreat. It's proof you're shifting something that has gone unchallenged for years. You might feel like you're betraying them. But here's the reframe: you are no longer betraying yourself. And yes, you can love your family and still demand respect. Those two things are not opposites. In fact, love without boundaries breeds resentment. And resentment is the slow poison of connection. You are not required to endure emotional harm to prove loyalty. Healthy love says, I care about you and I care about myself. If guilt rises, breathe through it. Let it pass like a wave. Don't let it become your compass. Your compass is dignity. Your compass is self-respect. And you are allowed to follow it even if your voice trembles while you do. Let's go deeper, because sometimes the hardest truth isn't that they're disrespecting you. It's that you've been over explaining yourself, over performing, and over proving your worth in hopes they'll finally treat you differently. You keep thinking, if I just succeed more, if I just stay calm, if I just show them I'm good enough, they'll respect me. Respect that must be earned through exhaustion is not respect. It's approval addiction. And here's the painful reality. Some people benefit from seeing you doubt yourself. It keeps the hierarchy intact. It keeps the roles unchanged. The responsible one, the dramatic one, the black sheep, the fixer. Families often freeze us in old identities, even when we've outgrown them. When you stop tolerating disrespect, you are also stepping out of the role they assigned you. That's why it feels threatening. not just to them, but to you. Because who are you if you're no longer the peacekeeper? Who are you if you stop absorbing everyone's projections? Who are you if you no longer explain your dreams to people committed to misunderstanding them? You are an adult with agency. You are someone allowed to evolve. You are someone who does not need unanimous approval to live authentically. And I need you to hear this. You do not have to attend every argument you're invited to. You do not have to defend every decision. You do not have to correct every misinterpretation. Sometimes the most powerful boundary is emotional detachment, not coldness, not cruelty. Just the quiet decision, I will not internalize what is not mine. When you stop over functioning to compensate for their behavior, you reclaim your energy. And that reclaimed energy, that's where your strength multiplies. Now let's talk about something that feels almost forbidden to say out loud. Sometimes love requires distance. We're taught that closeness equals loyalty. That showing up no matter what equals strength. But there is a difference between staying connected and staying exposed. If every interaction leaves you drained, if every visit requires emotional armor, if you rehearse conversations in your head for hours afterward, that is data. Your body keeps score. Distance is not always dramatic. It doesn't have to be a screaming exit or a slammed door. Sometimes it's quieter than that. It's shorter phone calls. It's declining invitations without a detailed explanation. It's not engaging in debates designed to diminish you. It's choosing not to share vulnerable parts of your life with people who weaponize them. That is not cruelty. That is discernment. And I know the fear, what if they think I'm cold? Maybe they will. What if they say I've changed, you have? Growth always looks like betrayal to people who benefited from your smaller version. But hear me clearly, you can hold compassion for their limitations without surrendering to them. You can understand their wounds without volunteering to be wounded. Some relationships heal with boundaries. Others reveal their truth when boundaries are enforced. And here's the courageous part. You are allowed to choose proximity based on respect, not obligation. You are allowed to protect your peace, even if it disappoints people. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself is step back enough to breathe again. Because you cannot thrive in spaces where you are constantly bracing for impact. You deserve relationships where your nervous system can rest. Let's talk about the moment when they push back harder. Because when you stop tolerating disrespect, there is often escalation before there is change. They may mock your boundary. They may accuse you of being ungrateful. They may rewrite history and say that never happened. They may even recruit other family members to pressure you back into your old role. And this is where many people collapse, not because they're weak, but because collective pressure feels overwhelming. When multiple voices question your reality, you start questioning it too. So anchor yourself in this truth. Just because they are louder does not mean they are right. When someone refuses to take responsibility and instead attacks your character, that is deflection. When they minimize your feelings, that is invalidation. When they twist the narrative to make you the problem, that is emotional manipulation. Naming these behaviors internally keeps you grounded. You don't need to diagnose them out loud. You don't need to win an argument. You need to stay steady. Steady sounds like, I'm not willing to be spoken to that way. If this continues, I'm going to step away. We can talk when it's respectful. And then you follow through. Boundaries without follow through are just suggestions. The power is not in the speech. The power is in the consistency. And let me tell you something deeply empowering. When you remain calm in the face of escalation, you break generational patterns, you model a different way of being. You show that strength is not dominance, it's self-regulation. You are not here to win a power struggle. You are here to protect your dignity. And dignity does not require shouting. It requires steadiness. Now, I want to speak to the grief, because when you stop tolerating disrespect from family, you don't just gain power, you lose illusions. You may have to grieve the family you wish you had, the one that celebrates you without competition, the one that apologizes when they hurt you, the one that listens without defensiveness, the one that feels safe. And that grief can hit you unexpectedly. You might think, why am I sad? I'm finally standing up for myself. But strength and sadness can exist in the same breath. You are grieving the fantasy that if you just tried harder, loved bigger, stayed softer, they would change. Letting go of that fantasy is heartbreaking. But it is also liberating, because once you stop chasing the version of them that only exists in your hope, you can start dealing with reality. And reality is where real peace lives. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means clarity. It means saying, this is who they are right now. And I will make my decisions based on that truth, not on who I wish they would become. That shift is profound. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop auditioning for love. You stop begging for basic respect. And in that space, something beautiful happens. You begin to reparent yourself. You give yourself the validation you were craving. You protect yourself the way you wish someone had protected you. You speak to yourself with compassion instead of criticism. And that inner safety becomes stronger than the external approval you once chased. It's okay to grieve. But do not confuse grief with regret. You are not wrong for wanting respect. You are finally honoring yourself. Let me leave you with this, and I want you to feel it in your bones. Stopping the tolerance of disrespect, especially from family, is not an act of rebellion. It is an act of self-respect. It is the moment you decide that love will no longer cost you your dignity. You are not here to be the emotional punching bag. You are not here to carry generational pain without question. You are not here to shrink so others can stay comfortable. You are here to live fully, to breathe freely, to speak clearly. And yes, some people may not like the new you. The one who says that's not okay. The one who leaves when the conversation turns cruel. The one who refuses to laugh at insults. The one who chooses peace over proximity. But let me tell you something powerful. The right relationships will rise to meet your boundaries. The wrong ones will resist them. Either way, you win clarity. Because when you stop tolerating disrespect, you send a message, not just to them, but to yourself. I matter. Your feelings matter. Your limits matter. Your voice matters. And the more you practice honoring yourself, the less negotiable your dignity becomes. You may doubt your first. You may dabble at yourself. You may feel the sting of disappointment. But over time, something shifts. You walk differently. You speak differently. You choose differently. Because you finally understand this truth: belonging should never require self-betrayal. And from this day forward, you choose respect, even if it means standing alone for a while. Because standing alone in your truth is stronger than kneeling in someone else's approval. And that is how you stop tolerating disrespect.